earth is alive, and to keep it living, we need to sing to her. These sacred mountains, these sacred sites, temples, power spots are memory keepers of the earth. They're our memory keepers. So as we sing to the land, we are reminded who we are. We are at a period of time where it's the end of a 26,000-year cycle in the Mayan calendar and the beginning of a new 26,000-year cycle. Also, in Vedic astrology, they say it's the end of the Kali Yuga being the age of darkness and ushering into this age of light, or age of truth, into the Sat Yuga. And part of this new age that we're entering into is an age of universal consciousness, of community, of connection, of relating, of relationship, where it's not just about the individual or the lone wolf or going off onto a mountain somewhere, leaving the world behind. We're in this process of coming together once again, to recognizing our identity as a unified field, that our identity is the connection with all of us. We live in a spirit of place, and the spirit of place is exhibiting certain personality components that then the people live out as a byproduct of that spirit of place. Where I first experienced it or had this teaching was when I was in South Africa. And I had gone on a safari, and I'm seeing elephants and lions and zebra and giraffe, and it was just kind of mind-blowing to be, so close to these magnificent animals. And then going into a village and hearing the people sing, the music in South Africa is just so alive. And what I was shown at that time was that every spirit of place then exhibits through its creatures, through its people, through its culture. So here we are, wherever we are in the world, we can start to tune in with this spirit of place. Whatever it is, what are the wounds that have transpired on the lands that we live on? Where has the breakdown been in the ecosystem, between the people, between the native cultures? We begin to build relationship beyond this identity of ourselves as a discrete unit, separate and apart from nature. But we start to recognize ourselves as an expression of this nature. Any time that there's an imbalance in nature, or you can say that nature balances itself through extremes, it's the elementals that are always at play. The elements exist within our bodies. We are composed of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. The earth is composed of those same elements. So when we learn to work with the spirit of place, we build relationship. A mitigation can occur for some of those extremities. Just like, in our body, sometimes we need to have a fever to balance out something that's happening for us. But if we're really attuned with our body, perhaps we can take certain herbs, or we can do certain practices that mitigate the need for our body to have a fever. Right now, we're in this process of humanity being shaken awake. And I'm sure for many of you, you may have already kind of gone through this process of waking up to reality beyond what we had been told. Recognizing that there's truths within us greater than might have been represented through our childhood. And so in these times, there's a great need for a mass awakening, for us to wake up out of the dreamy sleep that someone else is going to do it for us, where we've given our power over to someone else's program of the future, of our experience of reality. And we're being called into ourselves as creator gods and goddesses once more, where we are creating the reality we want to see. We're holding that in our consciousness, through our thoughts, through our feelings, through the power of our words. And in order to activate the greatest power of our words, we need to be in harmony and union with nature. Because again, if we are only an individual, discrete being, we don't have a lot of power. But when we come together in a group field, this group field is amplified exponentially by each person present. When we decide to include in our group field our Mother Earth, her waters, suddenly we move past ourselves as an individual unit that's maybe whatever, some small fraction of a percentage of the totality. We shift from that to ourselves as the vast majority. And when we step into the space of the majority, we have a greater capacity to shift and change the world around us. We are bringing in to our psychology this aspect of the physical, natural world, the spirit of place, as an aspect of our psychology, not something separate and a part of ourselves. And that the changes that we're desiring at this time, they're changes, yes, inside of ourselves, absolutely, changes of healing, of releasing, of understanding old stories, understanding patterns, of creating new pathways. And we're also in this place of needing to listen to the earth. We don't live alone in a vacuum where it's only about us. I think that's what we've seen in the world around with the economic systems and the deforestation. And in the beginning of the 1900s, I believe it was, could have been the end of the 1800s, 97% of our earth was wild places. Now, 3% of our earth is wild places. So this belief system that we can live in a vacuum, separate and a part of the world around, that we can extract resources from the world around to serve us without recognizing that we are in a collaborative experience. A lot of the systems of thinking, of science, the ways that we have learned to live inside of the world have been born out of that idea that we are separate from nature. So we're introducing back into our awareness that we are part of nature. And so how do we interject nature back into our psychology? How do we both work on ourselves to self-master while simultaneously discerning when there is a distinct message coming from outside of ourselves? When we honor the earth knows us, and she goes ahead of us to put us safe, to put us where we need to be for the work that we need to do. So another piece is being so assured with our connection to our spirit. Actually the first time I ever drove through Topanga Canyon 10 years ago, I heard the spirit say, "You have to know my voice louder than all others." Because there's always going to be a reason why not to do the thing that you're guided to do. And we need to be okay to follow the course that's been charted by our heart. And we need to believe in ourselves enough that we're brave enough to take those steps. We're then not just an individual, discrete unit. We are a drop in a vast sea of love and support and energy and connection and wholeness and vitality. And when we recognize this, we can feel that we are not alone. We are not abandoned and adrift and vulnerable, but we are powerful beyond measure. It was around 2013. A friend of mine invited me to sun gaze. She said, "I found out about sun gazing. We're going to sun gaze forever." And I was like, "Well, does that involve getting up at dawn? Because I don't think I can do that forever, but I'll give it a try. All right, I'll try it for 6 weeks." So I got up and I would sun gaze and just drink the energy of the sun through my body, through my chakras, down into the earth. And then I would send blessings to the earth. And I sent blessings through these lineages that I had been initiated into from the Caro people of Peru. And there were these 9 initiation rites of connecting with our energy centers, with the healers, with the day keepers, the wisdom keepers, the earth keepers, our star keepers. So each day I would flow blessings through these different lineages. And after about 10 days, I started to hear the earth speak back. And she showed me that all wisdom from all time is contained in the energetic field of the earth and in our energetic body. And we can access this energy by building relationship. When we send blessings, when we send love, when we sing songs, we give honor, then it opens up that flow of communication. And then again, I was reminded of this when COVID happened and I didn't have anyone to teach or sing to anymore. I started going outside in Topanga and singing to the mountains, and started to feel this calling to go and sing to sacred mountains, which I resisted for a while, but finally I gave in and was invited to lead a women's retreat at the Ko'ola Mountains of Oahu, Hawaii, led a private retreat in the Grand Tetons, was in the Chiricahua Mountains of eastern Arizona and Sedona, and I sang to the earth, sang to the mountains, and boy was my mind blown. I was reminded that the earth is alive, and to keep it living, we need to sing to her. And that these sacred mountains, these sacred sites, temples, vortexes, power spots, are memory keepers of the earth. They're our memory keepers. So as we sing to the land, we are reminded who we are. And this is the time where we need to remember. In the Mayan prophecy, they say that this is the lifetime where we have the ability to connect in with all those gifts and talents and capacities that we've ever cultivated in any other lifetime. We have that recall, we have that access. How we gain access, or how that's fortified or enhanced, is through that building of relationship with the earth, sending blessings, sending love. If any of this is resonating with you, I so highly encourage you to make this a regular practice, some sort of regular practice of sending blessings to the earth. And we also have a new session of the Songkeeper School coming, where we will for 5 months sing to the earth. We learn how to use sound for alchemy, so simultaneously we're learning how to sing for the water, for the earth, for ancestral healing, for our inner child, but we're also singing as a form of emotional release and to process through some of these long-held belief systems or stuck ideas. And in this particular section of the Songkeeper School, there's a certification component for land blessings. You will learn how to anchor a grid into the land, to cleanse it, to purify it, to give the offerings that are needed to the spirit of place to bring balance and harmony, to empower that land back to its original stainless purity. And when you're empowering the land, you are empowering the master teacher that exists as that land. That master teacher that may have, in our not honoring and acknowledging it, kind of falls dormant. But just as temples are tended to by the priests and the priestesses, you live in a sacred temple. Your body is a sacred temple, and the lands upon which you live are a sacred temple. So I invite us to feel the necessity of learning how to bless the land and standing for being this emissary of goodness, where you can bless your temple, restore the sacredness to the spirit of place, restore these ancient master beings to their spot as placeholders. And when the sanctity of the land is restored, we the people are restored. And vice versa. As the sanctity of our beings are restored, the land is restored. We cannot do it without each other. And just presencing that this wisdom is really percolating through the ethers out of necessity. That this year is slated to be one of the greatest years of change that we may have lived through yet. And people need your gifts. They need your talents. They need the light that you've cultivated, your connection to spirit. They need these reminders, these points of light where they can find refuge from the mechanisms of fear that are operating in the world around us. At every moment, there's this timeless space of peace in which we can exist. And there's also lots of other swirling energies that are trying to distract us from that. So now more than ever, people need what you have to give.